Buonasera. Thank you for coming.
Margaret, can't hear you.
Thank you for coming. And thank you to the Comune di Barga, Proloco, tra le righe, Unitre, etc. for giving me the opportunity to present this book, which is not a recent publication in the sense that it was first published in 2005 in the USA. And this was the cover. It shows a blue swimming pool, but in actual fact, the body was floating in a pink swimming pool. However, after that, it was published in Canada for Harlequin Worldwide Mystery Series, which gave it a slightly more abstract cover. And finally, in the UK, by Harlequin Black Star crime series. Now it is being published with, as Sonia said, the other two that follow it, Tuscan Temper and Tuscan Terror, in digital form. So we are promoting it as a new thing, and possibly people who never had the chance to read it back in 2005 may now download it onto their Kindle. The books themselves are out of print. So this is the only way you could read it if you wanted to. Anyway, what else can I say? Before I talk about the actual book, I should first tell you something about crime fiction, which you may not have thought about. Crime fiction can mean many different things. It includes thrillers, suspense novels, and police procedurals, and of course these variations overlap. It doesn't have to be about murder. It could be about the theft of a famous work of art, or an audacious bank robbery, or about drug or people trafficking. After all, these are all crimes. But cozy crime fiction is different, and for those who don't know the term, cozy, written with a Z, means that there are no CIA or FBI involvement, no international drug cartels or gangs. The murder usually takes place in a cozy or restricted setting, which could be, for example, a village, a hotel, an island, and with a fairly limited number of suspects. The victim is usually known to the killer. There is no graphic sex or violence. Of course, murder is always violent and will be described, just not in graphic detail. If possible, there should be a twist at the end, which will mean the solution should come as a surprise. In order to make things more interesting, the crime fiction writer will often add red herrings. It is easy to go for one of them as the solution, and indeed, one of them may, in the end, turn out to be the answer. Tuscan Termination comes into the category of cozy crime fiction. It takes place in a small town where everyone knows their neighbors. There is a limited number of suspects. An investigator is brought in from the nearest big town, as the local police have never had to deal with a murder before. In cozy crime novels, the investigator is an important figure, whether he or she is in the police force or an amateur. We have all heard of Hercule Poirot, Miss Marple, and of course Sherlock Holmes. Mine is called Ruggero di Girolamo, an attractive man in his 40s. I imagine him as looking like a middle-aged Franco Nero. Do you want to do anything with this?
No, I think
It is very interesting to note that many writers of cosy crime fiction since the 1920s, when this type of fiction began to be written, and this was the so-called golden age of crime fiction, are women. We may remember Agatha Christie, Dorothy Sayers, Marjorie Allingham, Naomi Marsh, Josephine Tey, and of course later P.D. James and many others. I've always enjoyed reading this kind of fiction, so when I finally decided to start writing seriously and actually finish a book, crime fiction was the obvious choice. I like working out the puzzle when I read these books, and I enjoyed creative work. H.R.F. Keating, a crime fiction writer, said, "Crime fiction is entertainment fiction. It is not literature. Literary authors have something to say. Crime fiction authors may also have something to say, but it is not the purpose of the book, and is often slipped in and well hidden." Cozy crime fiction follows basic rules. As I said earlier, the number of suspects is limited, generally from 4 to 8. The writer will play fair and give sufficient clues to the reader so that he or she should be able to work out who done it. And so now we come to Tuscan termination.